Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. If you're new, welcome. My name is Luce and this is my husband.
Yes, my name is Lester.
And we're going to continue on with our top 21 ways to stay married in 2020.
Part
2. We're going to go ahead and jump right in. We're going to start with number 10. Control your emotions. Mainly, a lot of people struggle with being selfish or being prideful.
Yes, pride is a very strong thing, and I think especially for the men. I think the men tend to be more prideful in a relationship, not only in a relationship, but just in life in general. And we like to take control and we let our pride get in the way. So one way to survive is to really control your emotions and your pride, because pride can really get in the way and it can destroy a relationship, even a marriage.
And in a marriage, you always have to remember to be someone that's selfless. It's not just about you. It's about you and your spouse. And we have children, so right now it's about us and the kids. So every decision that we make is based on what's best for me, what's best for him, and also what's best for the kids. So number 9.
Be willing to change bad habits. Be willing to change bad habits.
So this is something that a lot of people struggle with, because a lot of people will say, well, this is how you met me, or I've always been like this since I was born, since I was 5, or whatever. And sometimes the way you are isn't the best. For example, if you're someone that struggles with, let's just say as an example, being greedy, right? Financially, money-wise. How is that going to benefit you in a relationship if you're someone that only thinks about themselves, if you're someone that doesn't really care the necessity of others? You know, when you're married, you have to care of the necessity of your spouse. So, you know, it's something that a lot of people struggle with. If you know that something that you do or something about you, your spouse doesn't like, you should be willing to change that, or at least try to tone it down a little bit.
And in my opinion, this goes kind of hand in hand with pride, because your pride won't allow you to change anything about you. So if number 10 is a problem, you got to get rid of number 10 in order to successfully fulfill number 9.
So also with being willing to change, a lot of people say, you know, like that they were born that way. You weren't born that way. You were raised a certain way, or certain situations or circumstances in your life made you the way that you are.
Now, moving on to number 8. Compromise and sacrifice. Compromise and sacrifice.
Compromise is something that we probably have said it a few times already in the video, but it's something that's real big in a marriage. You can't, it's not just about you anymore. Any decision that you make has to be with both of you. Decisions as a marriage, they have to be made together, and you should both be willing to kind of, you know, meet me in the middle, because you're not always gonna win, especially if you have two people that are very strong-willed people and that are like, no, it's my way, and if he was that way, you know, you would always bump heads. And sacrifice, it kind of goes hand in hand with compromise. You have to sacrifice things that you love or things that you like for your spouse. That's life. And it's not just for your spouse, it could be for your kids or for your family. That's life.
You're doing a sacrifice for your household, but when it comes to the marriage, when it comes to the relationship that you have with your spouse, you still got to be willing to sacrifice in order to make things work. Compromise and sacrifice go together. Make sure, especially men, make sure you guys are compromising with your wife and you're sacrificing things of yourself in order to make this work. It's the only way it'll work.
Number 7 is communication, specifically listening.
Yes, listening. Listening is very important. There's a lot of times she talks and I'm not listening. It's the truth. She'll, like just yesterday, right? What was it yesterday? Yesterday, we were watching TV and she was talking to me and I was on my phone again. Go back to video 1. You'll see what I'm talking about. I was on my phone And she was like, you heard? And I was like, huh? And she's like, I just had a full conversation and you didn't hear anything I said. And I'm like, I'm sorry, say it again. The problem with that is she doesn't like to repeat things at all. If she says something and she feels it was very important, me as the husband, I gotta make sure I'm paying attention because she won't repeat it. And if it was important and it has to do with us, I gotta make sure I'm on my game and listening all the time. So yeah, communication is important too, man. Communicate with your spouse, man. Just don't make decisions on your own. Communicate. Make sure you're both on the same page with everything. You have to make sure you're on the same page with everything.
Not only that, but with communication, a lot of problems can be avoided if you just communicate with each other.
Right.
You know, if you're feeling a certain way, if I feel a certain way, even when I wake up in a bad mood, I text him and I'll be like, we have a phrase that we use. And we say, are you like that? And that means like, you in a bad mood so I can stay away. And I'll text him early in the morning like, yo, I'm like that today. You know what I mean? But that's communication. Like, some people will be like, oh, well, why would you do that? Because I need him to know that if I say something wrong or I come at him a certain way, it has nothing to do with him. I just woke up in a bad mood. And it happens, you know?
It does.
Especially now, I'm pregnant, if you guys didn't notice in the last video. So, you know, pregnancy emotions are crazy. And there's times where, I don't know how many times I've cried this pregnancy for nothing. I cried over funnel cake fries, okay?
That was hilarious.
You know, it happens. And so communication is very important. Make sure that your spouse understands you.
Right.
And even if you're upset or you're dealing with something and you don't know why, just communicate that with your spouse, you know? Let them know, like, I'm feeling like this today. I don't know why. You know, and you as a spouse, you should try and see, is there anything that you can do to help your wife or to help your husband? So we're going to move on to number 6. And this is intimacy and spending time together. So intimacy, you know, obviously we're adults, right? So we all know what intimacy is. It's something that a lot of people struggle with as a married couple. Men and women are very different when it comes to intimacy. In the aspect of, I feel, this is my personal opinion, I feel like women are very emotional versus men are more physical. You know, for me, if I'm in a bad mood or I had a rough day or the kids were getting on my nerves, that is the last thing that I'm thinking about. You know what I mean? Versus, I feel like men, it doesn't matter what you go through. It's like, you ready whenever, you know? So that's something that some people struggle with, is intimacy. You might be going through something at that point in your life and you kind of forget. You know, as a woman, I can speak for myself. I have 3 kids going on number 4. And you forget. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not in your mind because you're going to work, you're coming home, you're cooking dinner, you're making sure the kids are fed, you're making sure the kids do their homework, you're cleaning the house, you're washing clothes, you're doing so much that it's just not in the back of your mind.
Yeah, because the kid thing is very hard, man. It's hard. Now, about intimacy for the men, in my opinion, right? We're just speaking opinions. In my opinion, I agree with what she said. It's more physical for us. For us, as long as it can be, you know, like, I think that for us, it'll be fine if it was every day. It'll be fine if it was every day. But this goes back, I think it ties in with compromising. Mm-hmm. Because if you know that your spouse had a very long day, and you know, you gotta be willing to compromise.
So number 5 is being faithful. And this ties into intimacy, because a lot of people that struggle with not being intimate with their spouse eventually become unfaithful.
Exactly. Yep.
And that's why I say, like, you gotta take care of what you have, you know? So being faithful, not keeping any secrets. You know, me and my husband, we're very open with each other.
Yep. Yes.
Very open with each other. It doesn't matter what it is, you know. He'll go to wherever, the grocery store or McDonald's, and a girl will try and talk to him or whatever, and he comes home and laughs about it and he tells me about it. You know, some people keep that a secret. You know, like, why? If you didn't have any intentions or if you weren't attracted to the woman, it shouldn't bother you. You know what I mean? You should be able to drop it. You should be able to just brush it off and be like, oh, could you believe this? Blah, blah, blah. You know, we're very open with each other. And I can honestly say that I have no jealousy, no anything. Like, he doesn't have to sit here. He does, but let's say someone messages him on Facebook. He'll say, oh, so-and-so messaged me. And I'll tell him, like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to tell me who's messaging you. I know who my husband is. You know, but some people, they hear that little ding and there goes the radar of jealousy. And, you know, and then they think that their spouse is doing something when they're really not. And then they think of being unfaithful. That's how it starts.
Right. And it you know, it goes back to no secrets, too. No secrets. Don't keep no secrets in your relationship, in your marriage. The secrets have to be completely turned off, because if you have to be able to build that real, genuine trust. And that's why, like she was just saying, when I get a message or something, I immediately just say who it is. I don't want no discomfort. I don't want no secrets. I don't want her to even have the idea that there's any secrets going on. I just open up about everything. I've always been like that. So I think that experiences in both of our lives, we join them together, and knowing what's at stake, because not only is our marriage at stake, but our kids will suffer from any separation or anything. You know, family members, even friends that are into this friendship.
So we're going to go to number 4 because it ties in to number 5. All of these kind of tie in together. They're just different bullet points that I felt like they needed their own line. So number 4 is jealousy, no trust, past, always thinking about the past. That's number 4. That's something that's really big. And I'll speak for myself. You know, I had a very rough past when it comes to relationships and men. This is my first marriage, the first time that I've been married, and the only time that I plan on getting married. So, if I was to bring past baggage into my marriage right now, I don't think we would last, or we would still be together. Because I was a very jealous person, and I was a very jealous person because of the fact that I've been lied to a lot. I've been cheated on. You know, these are things that you carry from one relationship to another. And it took a lot for me to let go of that. And I thank God that I did, because I cannot honestly sit here and say that I don't feel any type of jealousy with my husband. I don't. I really do trust him, and it doesn't matter. He can be talking to another female, or a female can comment on his picture, and I'll just be like, who's that? And then he'll be like, oh, it's so-and-so from blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know, like, there's not anything like, oh, well, why she heart your picture? And you know what I mean? Like, I'm telling you guys, the internet is the worst thing for a married couple.
Yeah.
Because if you're someone that suffers from jealousy, if you got that in you, you might as well delete all your social platforms right now. Because your marriage or your relationship is never going to succeed. Because you're always going to be fighting, thinking that somebody wants your man. We're Christian, so this was something that I felt like I needed to give to God. You know, it was something that I knew that I struggled with, and I prayed to God before we got married, and I said, Lord, you know my past, you know my struggles, you know what I battle with. I don't want to take this into this relationship. You know, I already had 2 boys, my older 2 boys, and I didn't want them to have to go through another, you know, bad relationship or another breakup and having another man leave their life or whatever the case may be. So it was something that, you know, for me, it took prayer to get rid of. So whatever it is that you believe in, you know, if you don't believe in prayer, that's fine. Work on yourself. It is, you know, it's something that you yourself, if you don't want to change, you're not going to.
And jealousy is something that I never really struggled with. I mean, the people I was with, they were jealous of me. I guess that's how you say it. They were jealous of me, but I never really was, because I don't know. I just never really was like that. So Jealousy, out the door. Trust, you have to have it there. And don't bring up your past. It'll destroy everything about your marriage. Number 3, forgiveness. Forgiveness. Oh man, that's one of the main ones. Forgiveness. We are not perfect. We're not gonna do 100% every day. You're gonna do something that's gonna tick your spouse off. Your spouse is gonna do something that's gonna tick you off. You're gonna be at that breaking point because of the work day you already had. You'll come home. Sometimes I come home and I got a face. She already sees the face. She knows, or she'll ask me like we said earlier, are you like that today? And I would say no. But the way I respond, she knows that I'm still like that, you know. So, and then you say things that you don't mean. Everybody does that. You say things that you don't mean. Just forgive your spouse. Always know in your mind that you have to forgive them, because today was a good day, but tomorrow might not be that case. Today was a day where you didn't have to say I'm sorry, but tomorrow you might have to say I'm sorry for what I did. I apologize that I said that. I apologize that I didn't do what you asked me to do. I'm sorry. Learn to forgive each other, because forgiveness could take your marriage into a very far and happy direction.
Mm-hmm. And with forgiveness, sometimes you have to ask for forgiveness when you don't even think you did anything wrong. You know, and that comes back to pride. You know, you gotta let go of that. If I, for example, if I said something that hurt my husband, that hurt Les, and he tells me like, oh, you said this, and I really got hurt by it, then I'll tell him like, I didn't mean to hurt you by what I said, but I'm sorry. You know, like, I can't sit here and there's nothing I can do about it. It's already said. It came out of my mouth. It hurt you. That was not my intention. You know, and I ask for forgiveness. I say I'm sorry. Some people, they can't say I'm sorry. You know, it does take me a lot more than it takes him to say I'm sorry. I can admit that. You know, it's something.
Oh, I was gonna go there. I was about to hit y'all with that.
It is something that I struggle with, you know, and that's why we keep saying it. Nobody's perfect. That's you know right. What I mean? Like, and just because we're Christian doesn't mean that we don't struggle with certain areas of our lives. You know, Christian means progressing to perfection. It does not mean perfect. Imagine if you were someone that didn't forgive everything your spouse did. Some people make the smallest thing into a huge deal. Oh, well, you're sleeping on the couch today because you didn't put your plate in the sink. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I feel like people nowadays, they find anything to argue about, and any reason to kick their spouse out of the bedroom or whatever the case may be. And we have to learn to just forgive and keep it moving.
By the way, we don't do that. There is no couch for nobody. The couch is to sit. In 7 years, we have never done that. You know why? Because that causes big, big problems. It doesn't matter what you go through, guys. You sleep on the same bed. You say I'm sorry, and you let that chapter of the day close. Mm-hmm. You don't keep that chapter open and bring it to the next day, because it'll just be a snowball effect in your marriage. Close that chapter every night, man. Don't let anger wake up with you the next day. Mm-hmm. Close that chapter, no matter how hard or what was it that happened between you guys. Close the chapter and keep it moving.
Yeah. So number 2 is very important, and it's something that a lot of people are quick to do, and it's don't give up. Mm. In a marriage nowadays, a lot of people are just so quick to give up. You know, I know people that their marriages haven't lasted 1 or 2 years and they're already calling it quits. And you're like, why? There's things that I can agree on why you would be like, all right, I'm done with this man. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not going to sit here and go through a list, but there's reasons. But there's some people that, to me, their reasons are not legitimate. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So in a marriage, you have to fight. If you love your husband or if you love your wife, then you have to be willing to fight for them. And if you really sit there and think, this generation, the younger generation, the generation that they're in their 30s, 20s, even 40s, a lot of them have not had successful marriages. But you sit here and you look at the older generation, people that are in their 60s and their 70s and their 80s, and they've been married since high school, middle school, they've known each other since middle school. And if you ask them, like, how did you get through it? A lot of it has to do with love. A lot of it has to do with sacrifice. A lot of it has to do with really not giving up and, not allowing other people to influence your decisions in your marriage. We're very open with each other. And if there's something that he's doing that I don't like, I tell him. I don't sit there and suck it up and complain to my mom or my sister about it. I tell him to his face, and that's what you have to do, because how is you telling someone else what you dislike about your spouse gonna help? He's not gonna know. If it bothers you that he doesn't put his dishes in the sink, how is he gonna know if you don't tell him? But then when he doesn't do it, you're catching an attitude and your whole day is ruined because he left one plate on the table, but he doesn't even know that you're mad about it. So it's something that you have to work on. Marriage takes work. It's not easy. It's not perfect. It takes work. If you want to be with your spouse, if you really love your spouse and you want it to last, it's gonna take work. But you can't give up. And that's for both parties. If one person gives up, it's done. It's done.
Number 1.
So number 1 is God. Like I said earlier, we are Christian, and it's our belief. If you don't believe in that, that is okay. But our number one, what has kept us together is God. Our relationship with God, the values that we hold, in our Christian faith. It took a lot of change. It took a lot of adjusting. We married literally 4 months. I think 4 months after we met. So, a lot of people, especially when people found out that we were getting married, they told me that I was crazy. They told me that our marriage wasn't gonna last. If you're interested in our marriage story and how we met, comment below and we'll do that.
That's what I was gonna say. Yep.
And we'll do that. Our relationship is far from normal. We got married literally 4 months after we met. We met off of the internet. And, family members on my end, or people on my end, people on his end, they were like, are you crazy? This isn't of God. This is too crazy to be God. But here we are, 7 years later, 4 kids later, well, 3.5. And, life isn't perfect, but it isn't horrible. I don't hate him. I don't want him to move out of my house. You know what I'm saying? like I love him. You know what I'm saying? So it's something that has been something very, very, very detrimental to our relationship. And it's the relationship that we individually have with God, that we join together as husband and wife and as a family.
Having God as a foundation in your marriage is key. This is why this is number 1 on this list. You really want a successful marriage? God needs to be the center of your marriage. There needs to be some God in your life. A lot of people don't believe, and that's fine, but it works. And we're living proof that this works. God is the foundation of my personal life, of her personal life, and together as one flesh, we love God. And God is the center of this household. He is the household. Without that foundation, there is nothing that can stand. Nothing can stand right without having any God in your life. And that is a fact.
Yes. So those are our 21 tips on how to stay married in 2020. So, like I said, if you guys want to see a video on us talking about how we met, comment below, and we will definitely do that. A lot of people to this day, you know, whenever we tell them, they're like, their face is kind of like, it's priceless. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't believe it. But here we are, 7 years later, 4 kids later, you know, and we're still standing. Despite what everyone has said, we're still here.
And despite what happens,
right? What happened? We're still standing.
We're still standing, and it's because number one, God is the center.
So thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate your time. And catch us next time at our next video. Like and
subscribe
so you can remain inside the Q Tribe.